former CIA operative just risked everything to tell the world what really happened in Vegas. Former CIA operative Lieutenant Colonel Tony Shaffer recently went on Martha McCallum on Fox News and said that the Vegas attack was a deliberate terrorism.
Here now with more, Lieutenant Colonel Tony Shaffer, a CIA-trained intel operative and senior fellow at the London Center for Policy Research. He's been in contact with sources in law enforcement. Tony, good evening.
Hey, good
evening.
evening.
To see you tonight, as always. What do you make of this today, given what we now know?
Well, look, I think it's shaping up to be a very deliberate act of terror. This is beyond dispute. The question becomes motive. Everybody seems to be searching for a motive. Martha, I would argue most of the clues of the motive is right in front of us. First off, this individual parallels in many ways by age and by predisposition of being unstable the shooter who attacked Congressman Scalise back in June, the Hodgkinson attack. Very similar age, they are both considered unstable, and so in many ways, after talking to both the psychological professional and some other folks in law enforcement, there's a lot of parallels there. Let's look at the target as well. It was a politically selected target. I think the target being selected, and let me say this is the perception based on available information, the perception was there's going to be a lot of pro-gun folks there, Trump supporters at this concert. So therefore, I believe the perception was by the shooter, by the individual who did this, by Paddock, that this was a legitimate target of political expression. Martha, this may be something people don't like to understand, but the very reason that Hodgkinson did what he did, and I believe Paddock did what he did, is because the left has now encouraged the use of violence as an extension and use of political speech. And this is what we have to be very careful about, the slippery slope. The idea here that somehow violence can become part of someone expressing themselves, and I think that's the real danger here. Let me set something else out there. There was no violence perpetrated against Bernie Sanders or Hillary Clinton during the run-ups to this election. So this has become a feature of desensitization by the left. The Kathy Griffith fake beheading the president, things like this, I think, are what's pushing a lot of folks to believe now that somehow violence is an acceptable piece of their, as politically justified. Exactly.
Well, we will see. I mean, it's an interesting theory. The other part of this is, that ISIS claimed responsibility twice, and we talked to Catherine Herridge about this last night. He does not line up in any way to be the typical sort of recruit for ISIS, a 64-year-old man. But does that hold any water with you?
Yeah, 2 points to that. First, they talked about the video. I think we're going to get a lot of clues off that video. The sheriff himself, during his statement today, used the word radicalization. We're checking for radicalization. So they've got to go through all that very thorough. Obviously, the electronics. Second factor, to your point, the FBI dismissing terror within the first hours of the investigation was completely insane. The FBI has no way of knowing. I mean, for goodness sake, the special counsel's been investigating the president's team for a year looking at Russia collusion. How does the FBI come to a conclusion there's no terror link, especially now, Martha, in light of the $100,000 transfer to the Philippines?
Yeah.
I'm sure he wasn't sending that money for water buffalo preservation. So I think
he may have been sending it to this girlfriend who
was
living there, and that's the other piece. We don't know if she's Filipino or not. We don't know what her background is.
But she's been upgraded to being a person of interest, which means that she's of investigative importance to the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, we understand that she is coming back. If she comes back voluntarily, that tells you a little something, doesn't it?
It does. But again, we believe that her work with him, that being co-located with him, she would know everything intimately, Martha, about what he was doing. You cannot get past having a house full of guns by someone who is not in the military, has no previous record of wanting to do things with guns. All of a sudden he buys these, and we're talking about I've been told an estimate of $100,000 worth of high-end weapons.
Unbelievable.
So it's clearly something there. Thank you,
very much. Always good to talk to you.
Thank you.
Just repeats. This could be the reason that nobody seems to want to announce that the shooter's motives were, what the shooter's motives were. Share this everywhere. If you want to know why he did it, this needs to come out. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And again, thank you so much for watching.